It's coming up to 2:46. It's a Monday, the 8th of June already. Time flies, doesn't it? It's a beautiful afternoon, actually. Enjoy it. It's going to turn a bit overcast over the next few days. But we're going to keep the conversation going here this afternoon as we talk literature. In fact, our next guest is an award-winning author. And I'm seeing here Churro, Willow, and Nibbles.
The names of the goats.
You have goats.
I do.
Is this a hobby? The goats are a hobby, are they?
Well, I think our idea was sort of to be somewhat self-sufficient in this world of weirdo foods, and we don't know what's going into them. So we have chickens and goats and a big garden and bees.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So this is all, you live in Nova Scotia?
In Enfield.
In Enfield. So you spend, when you're not minding the goats and the critters on the farm, you spend some time putting your fingers on a keyboard.
That's right.
So this novel, A Hero, where did you draw inspiration? Where did the story come from?
Well, I was trying to explore the idea of what constitutes a hero, because I think probably many people have a preconceived notion, and my main thought came with the main character is a person who's not a particularly nice person. In the first half of the book, most of the readers probably will dislike him, and yet the same qualities that make him have really difficult relationships within the context of his personal life and his family enable him, those very same qualities enable him to be, to show heroism in the greater world and impact his environment. And it's set in the Middle East because I spent 10 years in the Middle East, and I did think when the Arab Spring started, a few years ago, in 2011, I think, it was really, really exciting and incredibly important historically for that part of the world, even if right now with ISIS it's not going quite as well as one might have hoped. Still, it's a really exciting time and the perfect backdrop for the exploration of such qualities as a hero.
So this hero is whom? Who are we speaking about when we say the hero?
As the book developed, that's an interesting question. As the book developed, I realized that all of my characters were contending with difficult situations outside their home, with a greater political situation, but also within the home. There's the power struggles and the relationships. As many families, any Canadian family, in most of them anyway, there's going to be power struggles in any given home between adolescents and parents and man and wife. I feel that almost all my characters portray aspects of heroism. The main one is Mohammed, who's the patriarch of the family, but all of them in their own way, within their own context. The women as well. They're at home and they're protecting their children, and they're trying to keep them safe, and they're trying to provide reasonable food in a food ration environment. So they themselves are also giving what they can within the context of their abilities.
So is the Arab Spring central to the story, or does that just happen to be the timing?
It's not central to the story. I guess it had to be a conflictive environment makes it more easy to explore those themes. But no, it's not. I wouldn't say it was central. It's always there, though. I mean, in every chapter, the fact that there's a war going on influences and impacts the family and their interaction with each other. Because when you're living in a war zone, that's how it is.
You were in the Middle East for 10 years, you say?
Yes.
Whereabouts?
I was mostly in Israel, but I lived for a while in Turkey, and I traveled a lot in Jordan, in Egypt. And when I first went to Israel, I worked at a hotel, and there were a lot of people from the occupied territories there, and we used to have political arguments around the table because the hotel used to give us dinner in the same way that Mohammed's family has arguments, because they all have very opposing opinions. So they're not, I'm hoping it's a window into that culture and also into different perspectives, because we tend to get in the West perhaps not all the perspectives.
Were you writing about people that you knew, or are these characters based somewhat on figures in your life, or did you just draw from your experiences to come to put these characters in this place at this time?
I think that every writer, in a way, draws from their life experiences. They're completely fictional. I hasten to add, they're absolutely, totally fictional, every one of them. But they'll be bits and pieces. This characteristic will be, my sister, and this, and this characteristic will be myself. And I think Rana, my main heroine, really is composed of all members of my family, really, because she's such a diverse. And that's one of the things one of my themes as well. That we're all so multifaceted and complex as human beings, that we all of us have the capacity for huge evil and great good.
The story, as you mentioned, it is called Hero, and when you were spending time abroad, you made a decision to come back here to Canada. What was it that you miss most about being in Israel and being in the Middle East?
Okay, I can answer also what I miss most about here.
Sure.
Because I love passionately the Middle East. I have to say that Tel Aviv is a rollicking city. It's 24/7. It truly is, and there's all sorts of different cultures there and peoples there from all over the world, and it's very, very exciting. And it's not quite as exciting here, and I don't have quite as good a set of friends here, perhaps. But I live on 7 acres, and it didn't cost me very much at all. I didn't have to be a millionaire to get 7 acres, which you would have to be in Israel and in other places in the Middle East. And I have my little farm, and I travel half an hour to the capital city where I work. And it only, I think this may be one of the last places in the world where you can do that, where you can have a place like that, which is completely viable, possible for anybody. And my family, most of my family is here too.
Absolutely.
And I love them.
Absolutely. We've had an ongoing discussion in this particular province about bringing more immigrants. It's a province of immigrants. Many of the ancestry is either Scottish or Irish, or certainly there is a discussion now about how we bring others to this. You've mentioned the prices, the properties values. What about the attitudes? What do you see from the people here compared to the attitudes you see from people when you spent time overseas?
I grew up in rural Nova Scotia, and I returned to rural Nova Scotia for the benefits which I've outlined. I don't find that it's very homogenous. There's not a lot of different cultures there, so naturally the people aren't completely open to different cultures because they know what you know is what you know, and what you think is right. And so I had a lot of trouble integrating into the society successfully. I can pretty much say I have no rural Nova Scotians close friends, so I have many very successful neighbor friendships and acquaintances, but no close friends. And I think perhaps if we could bring more, then that would all change. But it's true that the job situation, I know some of them have problems getting jobs, and then obviously it's easier in Toronto. It's a difficult question.
That's part of what I was going with, the support networks and migrants, people who choose to come to Canada. If they see a centre where, say in Toronto, they can have a culture within that culture. Here, it's much more likely that people will expect you to integrate and perhaps leave behind some of your culture. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, I think there's quite a strict behavioural code. I'm more talking about the rural. I think Halifax is different. But I think there is a strict behavioural code. And if you're a fairly vibrant, rather, like, for example, Nova Scotians don't like conflict. Whereas I believe that in any relationship, a real one, certainly a real friendship, it's just part and parcel of it. We grew up in a shouting family, and that's what I'm used to. But it's simply not acceptable.
Very much. I hear what you're saying. You can have a disagreement without being disagreeable.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tomorrow, is it tomorrow that you're having the launch, the official launch of the book?
Yes, it is.
And where's that taking place?
At the Company House at 6:30, and that's a pub, so people can, there'll be a cash bar, and there'll be lots of munchies available, and I think I'm followed by a comedy act at 8. So if people want to make a night out of it, that'll be lovely.
It sounds like a fabulous evening. So tell me, when you were putting your mind to making this novel happen, making this book happen, who did you bounce the story off? Who did you share your ideas with? Your editor? Was there someone else close to you that you helped that helped you, or did you just put it all together and then put it out there?
I have, I mentioned earlier that I came back to Nova Scotia because I love my family very much, and I have two sisters whom especially Tessa and Anna. But Tessa especially, I bounce all my ideas off of her, and she frequently, guides me in one direction or another, which I didn't plan to go in. So that's always very important. And
would she give you feedback? What did she think of this? Your new novel?
I think she likes it very much. It's as you go along, as you probably know, when you first start in your career, you're fine, you're doing the best you can, but you get better and better. So this novel is definitely stronger than my first novel, and hopefully I'm still on the way up. I don't know. I guess you reach a peak at some point, but.
So this one has it been? I got an advance copy here. So is it published? There's a hard copy?
I have a real copy right here.
Oh, fabulous. Okay.
I was supposed to give that to you in the beginning. Sorry.
Well, no, that's fabulous. Okay, so this is wonderful. Thank you. So it's published by Inanna,
yeah.
Fabulous. All right, so tomorrow night you'll have, I'm assuming you'll have all your friends and family gathered for the official launch, and again, it's at Company House. Do you have anything that you wanted to add? Anything else you wanted to tell us about your novel?
Well, I don't know if I should mention there's a series of events happening throughout Nova Scotia.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So I'm doing reading in Elmsdale, which is my hometown, at the library there on the 27th of June, and I'm doing on the 20th of June I'm doing the Stewiacke Library, and the 16th of July the Lexicon Books in Lunenburg. So I'm trying, and hopefully later on more. So there's a series of events promoting the book, but the big one, the main one's tomorrow night at the Company House.
Well, fabulous. Congratulations on the novel, and I hope for a wonderful night tomorrow. Hopefully you'll have as much support as you need and deserve.
Thank you very much.
All right, fabulous. Thank you very kindly. Our guest has been Charlotte Mendel. She's the author of A Hero, and the official launch is coming up tomorrow. We're going to be stepping aside here in just a few moments. We're going to come back and talk about Money Matters. Ken Shea is in the studio. It is Monday. Chance for us to talk about financing. We'll continue that discussion we started last week, differences between types of mortgages. We'll also be hearing from Mel Boutier. He has been recognized for his philanthropic work over the years. In fact, he was named the Outstanding Volunteer Fundraiser at an event last week. He'll be in studio to tell us about that. We'll open up the phone lines between 4 and 5 o'clock. And then coming up after 5 o'clock, it's Hope Swinimer from Hope for Wildlife, veteran Ronald Clark. And then we'll be hearing from the folks at Angus Reid, a bit of a survey that had been done on prayer in Canadian public life, and apparently somewhat divided on that front. We'll talk about that as well. Stepping aside for the news, coming up on the other side of that, it's Money